Off to the estate in Balmoral. Whoa, what the devil was that? So yeah, that's basically what happened. I was driving down the road and the other day, and the front driver's side spring actually snapped on this car. But before that, I already had a problem with my shock absorbers anyway, because I actually overloaded the car with bags of mulch, because this is my truck. I basically use it as a farm vehicle, and yeah, I killed the rear suspension on it years ago. So now is the time to do coilovers. So today, that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to try and install this. Coilovers in the front, coilovers in the back. And what's nice is that they're already assembled. And look at that, it even has an R on it to say that this is the rear. I also have two fronts as well. So, but just to give you an idea how bad the suspension is back here. Yeah, basically non-existent. So we'll get cracking on that, and stay tuned, and yeah, we'll see how much we can get done in one day. Okay, so one of the first things you have to do is to remove this cover here, because if you look inside the engine bay of the Land Rover LR2, aka the Freelander 2, you can't actually see the shock towers, and that's because they're under this little shroud over here, this plastic shroud. So the good news is you only have to remove one windshield wiper, because with that removed you could just peel this one up, and likewise on the same side. So that, and then remove the wheels, and obviously jack up the car first. So yeah, that's where I am right now. All right, so the other thing too is you have to actually remove part of the trunk. So let's see if you can see it on this side. Right there is the top of the shock towers. So you have to kind of pull out the weather stripping, and then you have to pull out the little plate that's over here, the plastic plate, and then that'll allow you to get into these. You don't have to remove everything completely, but that's what'll free up space to the shock towers. I've started on the back. Now there's actually a key to removing. There's a key to removing the old shock, and that is with a bottle jack. So what you have to do is take a bottle jack like this, and you have to wedge it between here and the top of the or the bottom of the springs. So wedge it between here, this little lip, and the shock, like that. And that's how you get the old one off. But don't forget to remove the pinching bolt, which is back there. And I haven't removed that one on this side yet. And then there's a screw over here, or a nut. That actually is just what clamps everything onto the strut. So we're going to remove that and move this. I may have to remove the brake caliper, but as you can see, the first thing I did was, you want to get these rubber bits out of the way. They just clip in there. There's also one over here. This is for the wheel sensor. That one there is for the wheel sensor. So, all right, let's go. So I kind of put it down there on the hub, and then I pushed up through the towards the spring there, on with the spring sets on, and that actually worked. But what a pain! It was actually, yeah, when it broke free, you could see where it was. That yeah, that was a big pop. So that's if you have a bottle jack, that's what you might want to do. So I got the new one on. I had to actually remove this entire knuckle here. I don't know why, but I've seen some videos online where people were bending this down. I could not bend it down far enough. So here you have I have the caliper hanging here so that you don't damage, so I don't damage the hose. So I always have an old coat hanger or two handy. As you can see, this is the first one that I did, so I marred the hell out of the new shock, so it doesn't look so new anymore, but it's in there. And there's that's the little the screw that I think it's the clamping screw. So that was a real pain to get off, but just made sure I used a lot of WD-40 before putting it back on. One little hiccup that I've had is that the lowers, when I removed the lowers, I actually damaged the screw on it. So when I tried to remove the lowers, I did so much damage to this that I actually have to replace them. That's probably okay. They're not very expensive. I found them for $125 for 2 of them. And yeah, there's no way a nut's going back on that. So that's the only thing that's a bit of a pain. But actually, at the end of the day, it may make the car handle a hell of a lot better. With new shocks and new lower arms, I think actually might have a good result. Okay, so on this side, same problem, where when I tried to remove this, it was completely marred. So there's no way that this lower A-arm is going to be reusable. Okay, so here we are. It's 3 weeks later. There's the new shock and spring installed. It was just 1 unit as a coilover, as you saw before. This side isn't done yet. I got the lower in there. I have to see this little tab here. This tab, use that to pry this down and to get this stud into the hub carrier. Then see how that's what's on the inside of the CV boot. In my case, it worked. You have to get those in order to push this where it has to go. So what I found is that if I took a large piece of wood, like that one there, and just slammed it against this, that will go into the carrier, because obviously it's not in far enough for this to work. So you have to bend this down while simultaneously banging this forward, but you don't want to damage these studs, right? Because those studs are obviously what holds the wheel on. So once those are in, then you can bend this down, put that where it belongs, put the nut on it. But then your problems have only just begun, because the nut, as you can see, has an Allen on the top. And that Allen, the way that these nuts are made, it's very hard to screw this on. It'll go a couple of threads. By hand. Then you really have to hold it. And I tried this and it stripped. So the only thing that I did manage to get to work was I took this. I had to put little grooves in it. This is just low profile enough. I put little grooves in it and held it with lockjaw pliers. And with the lockjaw pliers holding it in place, it actually was just enough to hold it so that it didn't spin the post, because the post will want to spin. It takes an enormous amount of torque despite being brand new, just to turn that. And the reason is it has a little safety thing in there. You could just about see it, which prevents it from getting loose, because obviously that would be a very big accident if that got loose while you were driving around. So that's annoying, but that's just how it is. So we'll see what this is like. I'll see if I can get this next one back on, and we'll go from there. So here you go. Here's the piece of wood. I'm just banging it against the hub, and obviously the piece of wood is getting completely destroyed, but that's okay. And it's starting to go into the carrier. Who knows? We're just going to have to keep banging away, and once that's in, I'm basically home free. But that's the hard part, is getting that thing inside there. Even though it's not a tight fit, for some reason it just does not want to go easy. So I'm just banging away on this thing. This is my breaker bar. As you can see here, I'm bending down the lower so that there's room. But yeah, that's basically where I am. All right, so there it is, back on. The rain has calmed down, so hopefully you could hear me now. Caliper is back on. Obviously the shock is in there. The CV boot is on. That actually went on very, very easily. And then up top, I remembered to tighten this up. I still have to put the other windshield wiper back on and connect the battery, because it's been several weeks. That's why the battery's been disconnected. I even have the wheel up on this side. So you'll see me next test driving the car. And this should be a pretty big difference because spring was broken on this side, on the driver's side front, and in the back, the shock absorbers were completely worn out. So it was like they weren't even there. So we'll see how this drives. I'm really looking forward to test driving it. After a very long time off the road. Yep, so far so good. So the steering is not any more direct than it really was before. It's an SUV, it's an old car, but even with new lowers, new outer tie rods, and new shocks, it's yeah, not particularly driving like a sports car, but it seems to be working. So anyway, this took a total of 3 weeks plus an additional week because I had to replace the thermostat in the car. So the thermostat had been going for a while, and I replaced that along with the auxiliary cooling fan, which made the car hot in the summer and cold in the winter. So that was the first weekend, and I had 3 additional weekends when I had to buy new things like CV boots and a lower, and then they sent the wrong one, etc. So that's why it took 3 weekends, but it was brutal work. And this is one of those situations where I was like, why didn't I just pay somebody to do this? But at the end of the day, I did a lot of the work today, for instance, and it's crummy out. So like, what else was I going to do? Anyway, that's the so that's a scoop. So if you like this kind of content, I will be making more coming very soon. Anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll see you in the next video.